Hey everybody, welcome back. Yep, believe it or not, we are already in the round two of the IHSA state playoffs. One round in the books, preparing for round two this coming weekend. Hello, everybody. Thanks for watching. Welcome to the Third Leng podcast. I am your co-host with Mr. Clearing His Throat right here, Matt Leng
Yes, sir.
joining us, and
Got my Gatorade. I'm ready to go.
we're very, very fired up and ready to go. An interesting round one, to say the least, Mr. Leng. I know where I was, I had some really ugly weather on that Friday night, that first night, and a little bit better certainly on Saturday. But one thing for sure is that winter just kind of slapped us upside the head last weekend.
Yeah, and it slapped us upside the head last night for trick or treat night too. So I think it's going to be fairly good weather this weekend. I think according to 4A through 1A, I think we had a lot of chalk. Everything kind of went with how we thought it was going to go, but we did have a few games where you kind of like, whoa, that happened, and it's going to be interesting to see now as we get into the second round, third round, fourth round, how the wonderful state of Illinois is going to be treated with weather.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, the good news is, at least early on, taking a look at the forecast for this coming weekend. And again, how I do it, I use normal Illinois, figure right in the middle of the state, and whatever happens, from that, it's obviously depends. It's a very large state, but generally they line up pretty well. And it looks like, again, as we mentioned before we started recording, very few Friday games really across the state, and especially 4A through 1A, Matt. I think what, one or two?
Yeah.
Most?
Yeah, it's two. I think there might be one game at 3 o'clock. We only have one Friday night game. That's in Rochester. But everything is one or two.
And the weather looks much improved compared to last weekend. I mean, Friday we're looking at a high of 56, a little bit overcast, but nothing crazy there, and then partly sunny, high of 60 on Saturday. So you can't ask for better than that at this time of year, quite honestly.
I will say that this though, for you obviously your expertise is everything 1A through 8A, but I mean I think 8 to 5 you could have more games on Friday night, and it's supposed to be really windy on Friday.
Okay. And honestly, not really. The majority of the games in the bigger classes are even Saturday. And
Okay.
after this round, there's going to be even less because you've got a lot of Friday, Saturday team matching up. And obviously, once you go to Saturday, you're not going to lose a day and go to Friday.
Sure.
So we're going to continue to see that. Matt, we'll go through 4A through 1A. Talk about the brackets, talk about the matchups, look back at maybe some of the upsets that went down in each class. So let's go to 1A. We'll start in 1A. And again, I'll give you the matchups for round two. And then Matt, if anything jumps out at you from an upset standpoint from round one, fire away. So we'll start in the upper bracket in 1A. In round two, no real surprise here. Forston, the 8th seed, they win, they advance. They are taking on Lena at home. Saturday, 2 o'clock. Again, we all saw that one coming, right?
Yep.
No doubt. The game below that in the upper bracket, Morrison, the 5 seed, they are on the road at Kewanee, taking on Kewanee Weathersfield. Again, that is a Saturday 1 o'clock kickoff. Stark County, the number 2 seed, is at Rova. That is a Saturday at 2 o'clock kickoff. And then finishing out the upper bracket, Chicago Hope Academy on the road at Aurora Christian. And again, that is at Altgeld Park, Saturday at 1 o'clock. That is I believe in the west side of the city of Chicago. So again, Chicago Hope playing at a neutral location. It's a very small school, don't have their own field. So there you go. So there's the upper bracket. Any surprises there for you, sir?
Well, not really. I will tell you this: the Stark County Princeville game, kind of went down to the wire. I mean, it was a very close game. It was 7-7, 14-14, 20-20, and then Stark County kind of pulled away. So I was a little surprised at that, but not really. Coach Carruthers at Princeville does a great job, and tip your hat off to them. Both teams fought hard. I will say this: one of my teams that I picked, was Gibson City, and Aurora Christian really sent a message.
Yeah.
I think it really presents itself a neat matchup with Hope Academy up north. Nothing really surprised me at all. I think we're going to have some really neat, tough, hard-nosed, hard-hitting physical matchups, all the way from the top of Lena Winslow all the way down to the Hope Academy and Aurora Christian game. So it's a win according to chalk. So, now we go in the southern part of the bracket.
Yeah, and again, working our way in the southern part of the bracket, the 1 seed Camp Point Central wins. They advance. They are on the road at Hardin Calhoun again. So again, the lower seed gets the win, so they get the home game in round 2. That is a Saturday 2:00 kickoff. Leroy at Belleville Altoff, Saturday 1:30 kickoff there. Salt Fork on the road at Cesar Valier. That is a Saturday 2:00 kickoff. And Casey Westfield at Greenfield Northwest, Matt, again, Saturday, 2:00. The thoughts in the lower part of 1A, sir?
I think the Camp Point game against Hardin, I think will be a tough game. I think it'll be tougher than people think. Brad, I know has a lot of respect for Hardin Calhoun. They have a lot of great football tradition and history. Belleville kind of did what Belleville does, and they put a lot of points on Tuscola. Tuscola put some yards and put some points on there. But, when Belleville wants to turn the switch, they can turn the switch, and they're awfully big. They're awfully athletic. That'll be an interesting matchup there with Leroy. I think Leroy can do some things, but they got to take the trip down there. Do they have enough? I think defensively they're going to be fine, but, it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard pressed for Leroy to win that game. Continue on. Salt Fork is a team I think you should watch out for. They're playing great defense right now. They win 7-0. Look out for them. And then down on the bottom there, you got Greenfield putting up points. I think Casey Westfield is a team also, with their storied tradition. So top to bottom, Camp Point all the way down to the Greenfield game. It's going to be really interesting. You got a nice mix, and I'll kind of talk about this when we get in the 4 quarters. We have it seems like 4A through 1A, we have a nice mixture of spread teams, power run teams, and it's going to be interesting to see. We're going to have nice weather, so anything can happen.
Before we move on to 1A, talk a little bit about potential field conditions after round 1. You had, again, fortunately, most of those games were played on Saturday, so I don't know how torn up they would have gotten, but I got to imagine that to some extent they got torn up a little bit. And, this week a little bit stranger. It was colder. We've had some snow depending upon where you're at in the state. I go outside now. I think today it finally melted away. I had snow cover for a day or two up here.
Yeah.
Is there an impact at all? Major impact? Not a major impact?
I mean, if it is an impact, the good thing that we have down here, and I think we saw this a while ago. I'm trying to think the first time where we had a game had to be moved to somewhere, and I think it was a few years ago, and Ottawa Marquette was playing like somebody like Stark County, and they had to move that game to Dunlap or something. I don't know.
Yep.
If that happens down here, there are locations that schools can go to.
Yeah.
In the Bloomington Normal area, there is a place called Illinois Wesleyan that is opening their doors up to everybody. You're going to find out that people are getting more and more, I guess, ticked off about how grass can just kind of rear its ugly head, and they want that turf field. There's more and more of those places out there, and so I haven't heard of too many complaints, but I do know of a couple of surfaces that really got, let's just say, got the schnapps beat out of them, and and that was in 2A and 3A. I know of some fields that really, after you got done there, it looked like Edgy Tim was out there at the DeCoin State Fair in a demo derby running and speeding his tires, man, because some of this grass just does not heal and recover with these nasty weather conditions.
And do we want to talk about the longest running debate that never seems to get resolved yet, or no?
Yeah,
there's always been a lot of talk about, and people have thrown it out there, and it always seems to get shot down. There's been talk from time to time about maybe playing semifinal round at neutral sites for the reasons we just mentioned. The hang up is always, okay, you can always point to field conditions, and I'm guarantee you, especially in the smaller classes here, you've got a lot of mud fields that are going to be completely beat the crap out of by the time you get that late in the playoffs. And again, it's the way our home hosting system works. If you continue to roll the right dice, you continue to get the home game. So your field's going to continue to get pounded. The argument has always been you've earned the right to play that home game, and no one wants to give up a home game. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, and I mean, you could argue it the other way that,
right.
why not let somebody else take the burden of, like providing the ambulance, providing the concession stands, as long as you get your fair share and you get your fair share of ticket sales and everybody's
but wait a minute. We're talking IHSA playoffs here.
I know.
You know how much? Do you know how much ticket revenue they're getting?
Yes,
I
got you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, because I think there's a lot of traditionalists out there that really still like grass, but it just, it's hard to recover, and it's taxing on the kids. If you look in the pros, the pros now are to the point now where they're like, get rid of this turf.
Yeah,
we're getting too many injuries in this turf. It's totally opposite. They wanted completely, just exquisite masters golf course green grass, and we just can't do that here in Illinois. I mean, it's just very few and far between. We're hot knee deep in turf love affair, and so we'll see. I think down the road that might be something we'd have to cross look at.
And again, it is the love affair is because it lasts longer, it's more durable.
Yep.
It's multi-use. You can run the Matt Leng band out there. You can run the softball team, the baseball team, any other sport you can think of, soccer, and you can just keep running them out there, youth programs all the time. Mm-hmm. That's where the love affair is. They're getting the most use out of it, and they have found it to be worthwhile. But anyway,
I will tell you this. I know of some coaches, and they are friends of mine, that are excited about going on the road or going to a new place and playing on turf, because it allows them to maybe move a little bit quicker and faster. So if you ever came down to that situation, like, hey, we're in the semifinals and our track, our field's not in good shape, what gives us the best chance to let our kids be successful? I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, but it still doesn't happen. So
we can just.
It's a never-ending debate. It's never ending.
Turn the wheel, man.
It's never ending. All right, let's move on to round 2. We will start in the upper bracket. The 1 seed Seneca, they get a pretty convincing win, 45-0 over Dwight. They advance. They will go on the road and take on Taylor Ridge, Rock Ridge. Rock Ridge gets a 37-21 win over Westville, so they advance. Wilmington, the 5 seed. The Wildcats beat Mercer County 41-14 in round 1. Wilmington will go on the road and take on Tri-Valley. Tri-Valley with a 24-0 win over El Paso Gridley. Moments, the 7th seed, Moments will hit the road. They will take on Maroa Foresight in Maroa. That is a Sab. Sorry, I did not give you the 2 o'clock. These are all the first 3 are 2 o'clock kickoffs on Saturday. And then finally, Farmington, the 6th seed, on the road at Bloomington Central Catholic. That is a 1 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. Matt, off the top, a lot of chalk advanced.
Yeah, they have. I mean, I think it sets up great matchups. I'll be, you can talk a little bit more about Seneca because you know a little bit more, but I can tell you this right now. The Rock Ridge football team is really feeling good. They got a good win against Westville, and they've won 9 games in a row. So they're kind of feeling good. Their freshman quarterback, as the game has kind of slowed down for him, it's gotten easier for him. Their defense is really good against the run, so it's going to be really interesting. They have a running back, Alex. I'm trying to think of his Zarlantis, just a really solid, athletic running back. So it's going to be, really, really good. They got a good kicking game too, so watch out for Rock Ridge, and that'll be interesting. I talked to Coach Jeff at Wilmington, and he's got concerns. I mean, when you just look at the physicality of these 2 teams going against one another, it's going to come down to, can their studs stop my studs, and can my studs stop their studs? And what it comes down to is it's either going to be 3rd and long or it's going to be 3rd and short. And if it's 3rd and long, then, the team that's in that 3rd and long is kind of going to be at a disadvantage. And you want to put those situations out there because both teams are going to try to run the ball, play keep away. So I think that's going to be really, really, really interesting. I think the Bloomington Central Catholic game against Farmington will be fun to watch.
Yeah.
That will be on a grass field in Bloomington that got pounded Saturday night with a lot of rain. So we'll see how that recovers. But again, we've talked about this North. It is a bracket with big time muscles.
There's still,
it's going to be really interesting.
There are still coaches not real happy with 2A in the North.
Sure.
Just not happy.
No, it's just going to be really interesting. And I think also too, like with this North, there's some great players. I mean, I know I talked to Jeff about his team. He's really high about his running back. Kyle Farrell. The quarterback Cade McGubbin. It's going to be really interesting to see how everybody adjusts to the conditions of the field and conditions of weather. It's going to be a pretty dry day, I think, on Saturday.
Yeah.
So big time players make big time plays and big time games. Should be no excuse. Still
going to be a lot of mud out there. It might be drier, but
it'll be wet.
It's going to be
once those cleats start digging in. Once those cleats start digging in and pulling that water out, then it turns into a mosh pit.
Yep. So again, that is the upper bracket in 2A, the lower bracket in 2A. And Matt, we have the Matt Leng special in 2A. We have Nashville going on the road, taking on Quincy Notre Dame. I remember one big, handsome, bald fella, wasn't me, who said, you know what, Quincy Notre Dame is the kind of team that you just got to look out for them. And even though they're a 5-4 and a 16 seed, they could be a dangerous team. And well, here you go, Matt Leng. They get the upset win in round 1 over ALAH. They advance, and they are now hosting Nashville.
Well, I mean, I think the South is starting to kind of create some eventual storylines that I will talk about a little bit later in the show. Okay. But I can tell you this, Q&D, from watching them on television, just from, highlights, they passed the litmus test. They're not overly big in size, but they're long and they're thick and they fill out the uniforms. Now, they're not these big monsters, but I would say they're all 6'1", 210 pounds. And it's not your average 2A team, okay? Right. And so they were down 14-0 against Arthur Lovington at Woodhammon, and they came back and won. So they shut everybody out there that after giving up 14. So it's going to be really interesting. They're very fast on special teams, so they can make plays. Nashville is a team that after we kind of talk about some of these other teams, I can kind of come back to Nashville.
Yeah, we will. Let's go through it.
Yep.
We'll go through it. So the rest of the South bracket in 2A, Redbud advances. They're on the road at Athens, Saturday, 2 o'clock kickoff. Shelbyville, the 2 seed, on the road at number 10, Vandalia. Again, that is a Saturday, 2 o'clock. And once again, Johnson City, the 3 seed, on the road at Breeze Mater Dei. Breeze Mater Dei gets a 40-22 upset win over Carmi White County, 40-22 to advance. So Breeze Mater Dei gets the home game against Johnson City. That will be a Saturday 1 o'clock kickoff.
Well, it's going to be interesting. You got I just think this South is starting to kind of develop, and I think there's probably one of 3 teams I think is going to come out of there, and it probably won't be one of those 3 teams. It'll probably be the other team that we're not talking about. So there's some good athletic, hard-nosed mixture of spread and power football teams. You got Athens, who will not throw the ball maybe 5 times a game, and if they throw it more than 5 times a game, they're going to be losing. If they can just control the ball, they're going to be in good shape. Nashville is a combination of both. Q&D, same thing. Shelbyville has high-octane athletes. They are good enough to go to the state championship. Can they come out of the South and do it? I'll talk more about that storyline because I think it's an interesting storyline in Class 2A. Johnson City, a team that was real close last year. They were right there on the doorstep, and they end up losing to not make it to the state championship. How good is Breeze Mater Dei?
Yeah.
I want to say this about Nashville, though. Every year we don't think about them, and then they kind of come out of nowhere. And the bottom line is the bottom line. And their strength of schedule has really helped them. They're 6-3 going to the playoffs, and so here's their list of people that they lost to, guys. I mean, they lost to Carterville in week 2. They lost to Benton in a shootout, 42-38, and then I don't know, they lost to DuQuoin, 49-20. So you take those 3 teams right there that they lost to. That's pretty much battle tested.
Yeah.
And but they've had an up and down team. There were some questions about their offensive line, but then they gelled and the chemistry just got better. And they got much better after week 2, 3, and 4. They're led by their quarterback, JT Malave. He has over 2,500 yards passing. He's 5'10", 145 pounds. He's comfortable now. Things are slowing down for him. He's just really understanding the game. And then a kid that might play some college football down the road, about a 6 foot, 180-pound kid. His name is Isaac Blazier. He has over 900 yards, but he has a lot of catches, a lot of touches, a lot of, just a lot of balls going to his way. And then they have a big tackle on the offensive line, 6'3", 315, Devin Schill, and he's a 3 technique. And, watch out for them. Nashville always pops up out of that south. Can they make that 3-hour trip north in QND? If they do, they're gonna feel really, really happy if they can come out with a win up there.
Kind of north and west.
Yes. No easy way to get there. So.
No, there isn't at all. No, I know that for a fact. Yeah, there's no straight commute. So again, that'll kind of give you a preview of 2A. Let's move on to 3A, Matt, in the upper bracket. Wow, Byron, is this when we can start bagging on the Chicago Public League yet, or no? Should we? We'll get into it in a little bit.
Byron's doing that to everybody, though.
Byron's doing it to everyone, to be fair. Yeah, they win 72-0 over Chicago Noble Hansberry. So Byron on the road at the Piatone. By the way, going to have Coach Tully on Pigskin Preview tomorrow night on 1340 WJOL. You can watch it off my website. Watch it live on YouTube.
Yep.
So we will preview that game tomorrow night on 1340 WJOL. Just a little shout out to my radio show.
Shout out to the radio.
So we will do that. That game is a Saturday 1:00 kickoff in Piatone. Dupec gets the win. They advance as a 5 seed. They will travel to Stillman Valley. So we get some lower seeds pulling off some first round wins here. Princeton, another 2 seed. They are on the road at Monmouth Rossville. So again, another double digit seed, a 10 seed gets a win. They get a home game in round 2. A Saturday 5:00 kickoff on that one, Matt. They're being a little different. I like that. Be your own person. Play when you want to play. And then Montini gets a win going away against Eureka. Boy, didn't call that one, unfortunately. I thought Eureka would come to play a little bit, but give Montini, they got it done. So Montini on the road as a 6 seed, taking on Prairie Central Saturday at 2:00. Matt, initial thoughts on the North bracket in 3A?
Well, I can tell you this, and I've talked to Coach Boyer a little bit, and Piatone's good. And I'm really interested in listening to that interview tomorrow night with Coach Tully. Jeff doesn't say that for the sake of saying that. I mean, he'll flat out tell you, and Piatone's they're gonna fight him, and that'd be really interesting to see that. Stillman, big win, 21-20. It's just gonna be really, really interesting. Tip your hat off to Jeremy Adolphson and Monmouth Roseville. Here's a guy that, he's kind of started out at my alma mater, Alwood High School, kind of over there in the Galesburg Quad City area. And then, he went to Rock Ridge and then he kind of went over to Monmouth and, they're just very solid every year, 5, 6, 7 wins, nothing fancy. That's going to be interesting. Coach Pearson bringing his Princeton team down. And I think it's really great. It's a neat place to watch football there. Monmouth, Illinois, the Maple City where Matt Leng was born. So,
Is there a statue there yet or no?
Not yet. Right. And then I think obviously Montini is starting to rev the engine up now at the right place at the right time.
Yep. All right. So let's talk just real quick about Chicago Public League. Okay. First of all, no surprises that none of them pulled a win. I was actually surprised that Noble Johnson made it a game. Yeah. But from what I had heard from some people said that if there was one school here that had a possibility, it was Noble Johnson. So they were 100% correct.
Sure.
Look, folks, here's the way it goes. This isn't going to change anytime soon with the public league. This is going to continue to happen. And, again, you're putting teams in this field that just are not going to be able to match up with some of the other teams here, especially in 3A and above. People, while they shouldn't be in the playoffs and they should be a high seed. Look, they're going the same rules as everyone else. If they go 9-0, they're going to get a high seed. It doesn't matter what type of 9-0 you are. Now, are there fixes? Are there corrections? Are there tweaks that they can make? They meaning Chicago Public League and the IHSA? Yeah, I think there are. I've said for a while now, and I don't know how you feel about it. I know most coaches are kind of mixed on it, but what would be the possibilities of bringing in a strength of schedule component into your seeding? We already do record. We already do playoff points.
Yeah.
Can you have a system now? Other states do this. I know Indiana does this. Jeff Sagarin does stuff for Indiana and some other states.
Yeah.
Where you can have a formula that weighs in certain things. Yeah. And again, it's not bagging on the public league. It's just saying, look, you're telling me that a Chicago Public League school that's a 9-0 should be seated higher than a Byron? No. Because the Big Northern, I'm going to tell you right now, is stronger than any Chicago Public League conference, with the exception of maybe the Red, where you have Morgan Park and Simeon and some of the biggers. But, as far as, and I tell people this all the time, and this is already the Chicago Public League limiting the schools that they allow into the state playoffs. So they are already proactive in saying, look, these amount of schools that come in, schools from this end of the conference, the Red is considered the better of the conferences. The Blue is lesser than the Red from an overall competition standpoint. So they've already done that, and they continue to do it. And I think they've been pretty proactive because, let's face it, Chicago Public League doesn't want to send these teams all over the state and watch them get their brains beat in. They don't want that either. It's not good for the sport. It's not good to promote football in the city when these teams have to go out in the suburbs and get beat 72-0 or get beat 45-0 or whatever. They don't want to do it. It's not good. So you just got to, we're stuck with it for now is the bottom line.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of expertise on this, but I will just say, I think it is what it is. I don't know if it's going to get any better. And I will also say this in terms of the strength of schedule, another state's also doing it, and that's Iowa, and they have their, they're up till the wee hour. I've watched this happen because I had a nephew that played for Davenport North, and they were 5-4. And you're like, oh my God. I wasn't coaching football that year. I was at Rantoul, and I was like, oh my God. I stayed up. I woke up like at 2:00 in the morning. They're up till 2:00 in the morning. That thing doesn't come out till like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. It comes out on Friday night.
Wow.
On Friday night after that last game. And it is a BCS juggernaut of an equation. And it's all based off of strength of schedule and other components.
That's like a Steve Susie dream, isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
To be up all night cranking it out.
But I think anything that you can do to make the game better, right? And if you have some sort of case study,
you'd have to right. You'd have to agree on a system. You'd have to agree on a system. You'd have to have a panel or something that can come up with it. I will gladly volunteer to serve on a panel.
Yeah.
But yeah, it could be involved, but I think there's ways you can dig in and look at
down
it.
The road, I think it's probably something they're going to look at.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Moving on to the lower bracket in 3A. DuQuoin, the 1 seed, they win. They go on the road, taking on Tolono Unity Saturday, 2:00. Sullivan, the 5 seed, they get the win. They advance. They go on the road, home of the Golden Aces, Mount Carmel. They will host Sullivan at 2:00 on Saturday. Olympia, the 7 seed, they win. They go on the road at Greenville, the 2 seed, Saturday at 3:00. And then St. Joe Ogden, the 6th seed, on the road at Roxana, Saturday, 3 o'clock, sir. South bracket, 3A. Fire away.
I just think there's some neat matchups, and this is kind of my wheelhouse. I know a lot of these coaches. I know a lot of these teams. I think, Scott Hamilton, I think they have a great chance this Saturday to end a coin season. They were, in a dogfight against Aaron Coons and the Bullets from Williamsville. You look at this, Mount Carmel is going to be welcoming Sullivan down in the Snake Pit. Greenfield at home with their size and their athleticism could pose some problems and challenges for Eric's team. But Eric's team, hey, they're going to be on the turf. They're going to feel much more confident, much more faster, run that triple option. I think the game of 2A or 3A is without a doubt Roxana against St. Joe. St. Joe has this diverse passing attack. They're older, they're stronger. There's a lot of storylines there. Wade DeVries, has it really humming down there. He has some football players that can flat out play. So I think the 3A South is really developing into a neat story. And I think 3A altogether is really a solid bracket, top to bottom.
All right, there you go. All right, sir, we'll give you a second here and we'll move on to Class 4A and we'll go through the upper bracket. Chicago Diet, the 1 seed, indeed hangs in there as the 1 seed. They win, they advance. They go on the road at, my bad, they're at home Saturday at Gately Stadium, which is on the south side of Chicago. That is a 4:30 kickoff as Sandwich will travel to the city of Chicago and take on Diet in a second round game. Also part of that bracket, Wheaton Academy, the 4 seed, they're on the road at St. Viator. Very good matchup on Saturday. Actually, that's a Friday, my friend, 7 o'clock kickoff from that one. One of the few Friday games. In,
2 Fridays.
Yeah, one of 2. IC Catholic, the 7 seed, on the road at Rockford Boylan. Wow, another great matchup Saturday, 2 o'clock. And Dixon, 3 seed, on the road. St. Lawrence gets the win. They also get the home game. That is Saturday at 1 o'clock. And I do remember telling you, sir, that St. Lawrence is a team. People want to talk about IC Catholic and Montini, but don't overlook St. Lawrence. This is a pretty good team that I think can compete with just about everybody on this side of the bracket.
Well, Dixon's had 1 loss, and that was to Byron. It's going to be interesting to see how St. Lawrence will be able to kind of go up against that passing attack. Dixon has a formidable passing attack with the coach and the coach's son, a quarterback. I think Elmhurst against Boylan is just, it's a perfect game. It's just a lot of fun. You got a Nick 10 powerhouse against, a team that obviously has been kind of the talk of high school football in Class 3A over the last 3 or 4 years, just in terms of their intensity. I'm really interested to see how St. Viator does against West Chicago. I think anytime you can go in to Coach Knoll's house and beat him 14-0 and stop that wing T offense, I think that speaks volumes of your defense.
Yeah.
And it'll be really interesting to see what happens at Gately Stadium with Sandwich, and Chicago Diet, So, overall, top to bottom up there in the north, I think it's really going to be a lot of fun.
It's really, to me, it's really interesting. Wheaton Academy is a team that I think the last few years you've seen really come on as a program, and Coach Jim has got things going there for sure. They're a program to watch out for. I think them and Viator can wind up being a pretty good matchup. Wheaton Academy is another team that can sling it a bit and get things going offensively. So it should be a really, really interesting, especially with the weather. We get decent weather, it's going to have a positive impact for these offenses that can sling it.
And how much of a challenge it is, sorry to cut you off, how much of a challenge it is for Elmhurst to have to go into Rockford?
Yeah, a little bit. Not terrible. A couple hours.
It's a 2 o'clock game, nice game, a nice day.
Yeah.
I mean, anything can happen.
Yep. No doubt about it. So it's not terrible. And again, the ironic part about that is it's probably an easier commute to go from Elmhurst to Rockford than to go from Elmhurst to Mundelein or anywhere near the city. Even on Saturdays with construction and everything, you're going up to Rockford, you're basically taking 39 straight up, and there's no better commute on a Saturday. Seriously, then 39 straight north because you're getting a really nice scenic view of all the colors in the leaves.
Yeah.
And it's wide open. So I love taking 39 in the fall. It's the best. So,
yeah.
All right. So there's the upper bracket. Lower bracket again, Coal City. The Kohlers get the win. They, hooray, get to go on the road to take on Rochester. Again, that is a Friday at 7 o'clock kickoff. Rochester hosting Coal City. Mount Zion, the 5 seed, on the road at Breeze Central, the 4. That is Saturday at 2 o'clock. Charleston, the 7 seed, at Murfreesboro, the 2 seed, Saturday at 2. Peoria, Notre Dame, a nice win for Peoria, Notre Dame, the 14 seed. They get to go on the road and take on Harrisburg. It's going to be a little bit of a bummer if your Peoria, Notre Dame is a 14 seed and you get a win in that first round. You're like, yeah, we're getting a home game. And then you're like, oh, man.
Yeah.
But again, two impressive wins there for sure.
Well, the Peoria game.
and Cahokia.
Yeah,
or not
the Peoria game is a short trip over to Kewanee, but now you got to go down. You got to take on the Bulldogs, and that's a different story. So I think anytime you go down south, that's going to be different. Murfreesboro obviously doing what they do. Hey, Coach Halsey, Charleston. This is his second time back, and that's a big win for that program. Where football had not been very good. This is not a knock on the DeKalbs or the Charlestons of the world or the Macombs of the world, but some of those towns and some of those college towns and areas, they have kind of tried to withstand the test of time, and Charleston's no different. They still have a great population in their school district. It'd be really interesting to see what they do. They got to go and take on the Red Devils. Pat has a big matchup at Breeze Central, Pat Etherton and Mount Zion. So he gets the big win against Effingham. Coal City, they have a short turnaround, have to take on Derek's team. That's going to be on a Friday when it is going to be windy down here. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Mount Zion's got some dudes. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about that. J.C. Anderson is a kid that, if you haven't heard of him by now, everybody's going to hear about him within a year because he's a gigantic kid. 6'6", probably, 220, 230. He's going to wind up being a major, major tight end prospect down the road. And Brandon Trimble as well, the wide receiver, already has a couple of Big Ten offers. So they've got some dudes. They can play. No doubt about it.
Trimble just got – he did his Illinois visit here just last week again, or 2 weeks ago. Did
you take him on the tour? Or
I did not. I was not asked. Pat Ryan took care of that, and I was.
Hey, kept you far away. Stay away. No doubt about it. Very good, sir. So again, that is Class 4A. We want to certainly touch a bit and get into 8-man football. So I'll do that right now while Matt's trying to find the garbage can. And
I am. I got it right here. Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Another Gatorade. So I will go through the bracket. So again, we had the first round results are in from 8-man football in the playoffs. Now we are in the quarterfinals in the 8-man. Again, here's the bracket. The 9 seed Ridgewood on the road taking on 1 seed St. Thomas More. That is Saturday, 1 o'clock. Pawnee, 13 seed Pawnee with a 58-38 win over Milford. They advance. They go on the road to 5 seed Martinsville. Again, all Saturday games, 2 o'clock kickoff. Amboy, 2 seed, they get the win. They go on the road at 7 seed Flanagan. Again, 1 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. And Milledgeville, team that's been up there all year long, the 3 seed, they get the win 56-8 over Orangeville. They advance. They will take on Polo in Polo. Polo with a 40-16 win in round 1 over West Prairie. So again, Milledgeville at Polo, 1 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. Some really good matchups there, my friend.
No, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'd like to send a shout out to my college roommate, Pat Elder, who's the head coach at Ridgewood. And, they got a big win. They went down to South Fork and they kind of took care of business. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in the four quarters and overtime. But, it sets up a big showdown. I mean, huge showdown with St. Thomas More. I wish I could be there. There was a big, big article on Peace Bumba here in the News Gazette, and I will do a little more research on that. Great family and a lot of good history.
Well, I've known Pete. I've talked to Peace for like almost a year and a half now, so I've got to know him and just terrific young man.
Yeah.
And great family. So
You
again,
know,
it's,
I think
go ahead.
when
I'm
you
sorry.
no, I was just going to say, I think when you have a dynamic player like that, I am not. I will just say this. You know, I say that I've said this one time before. You know, like it's 8-on-8. It's great football, but when you have a breakage and a slippage in the cracks, you got 6 less players, and if you have a dynamic player like that cat,
Yeah. Yep.
he's going to make some plays.
And
And
it was pretty evident when I saw him at South Beloit, where it's just like you said, boy, that initial tackle, you better wrap him up, because if you don't, he's gone.
well, and I asked Jim, like going into the game, I go, "What's the keys of the game?" And he goes, "Matt, seriously?" He's like, "We're going to try to combat peace with lots of war, lots of guys coming at him with lots of war." And it didn't work out because he's just a man child. He's a dynamic playmaker.
Well, you don't see very often, and even in the 11-man game, where why he's getting college interest is because he's got a combination of size and strength and speed, and that's the difference. He's 6 foot, probably 205, 210, runs really well, very strong, and that's the difference. And he would succeed. He would succeed in an 11-man just like he has an 8-man. So stop asking that question, college recruiters, because you're darn wrong. This kid
turn the corner. He's gone.
Yep.
Martinsville, like I told you, a good team. It's going to be really interesting. That North is really show. I mean, here we go, guys. I mean, you got one more game and you're in the semifinals.
Yep.
I mean, so 8-man is different and unique. It's the Wild Wild West in that their season's coming to an end. Amboy, obviously, probably the favorite in this whole thing. And Milledgeville is awfully good, but they're going to have to go and beat Polo.
Yep. All right. So it is time. It is Matt's favorite segment of the whole week. No one else's, just yours.
Absolutely.
But it is 4 quarters and overtime, and as always, we have a theme, sir. What is your theme this week?
Well, the theme this week is Midwest Illinois style food.
Okay, so my mind will race to a few different things when you bring that up. We'll see how well you do here. We'll see how well Central Illinois does versus the Northern.
Okay, all right.
Okay, no pressure. So your fourth quarter, we will start with is that where you want to start your fourth quarter?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
We will start the fourth quarter. Matt, who's the boss?
Okay, so when I think about the boss, I think about Bosco sticks. Have you ever had a Bosco stick there, Edgy Tim?
I have.
Okay,
they're not horrible. They're good.
This is a food that is now entered into the trays of our cafeterias in high schools all throughout America and in Illinois. So it is a kind of a breadstick with mozzarella cheese into it or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not Bobby Flay. This is not the Food Network. But the bottom line is, we kind
Who's
of talk
Bosco?
about this. Huh?
Who's Bosco?
I don't know who Bosco is. So
it's your segment. I thought you do the research.
Well, you know what? I'm just trying to talk about food.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So anyway, just my whole thing is, the Bosco stick, it's kind of one of those things that's kind of spread throughout our cafeterias and our kids and everything like that. So just talking about the spread offense and just how we have this correlation of spread offense versus old school. So Edgy Tim, when you go in that cafeteria, are you going to get a Bosco stick, new school, or are you going to go old school and get the Salisbury steak and the mashed potatoes and the green beans? I want to know what you're going to do.
You know me. You know me. You know what? What do you think I'm going to go for?
Old school.
Old school. Come on, Salisbury steak and mashed potatoes.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens between old school and new school. Is what I'm getting at. Okay, you got a lot of Bosco sticks out there. You got a lot of people that are doing what they do, and they do it awfully good. But you still have old school football. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting, and I can't wait next week to see who has advanced out of that cafeteria food line.
Yep, no doubt. Third quarter, ironically, you bring this up. I had this for dinner this evening. It's a little chilly.
Okay, so
I had a lot of chili, actually, but go ahead.
I think of chili. I usually think of like the chili mac that you get at Steak and Shake. But you know what?
No.
When I was looking through the Midwest chili, there are things out there that people do with their chili. Some of them put them on pasta. They go layers.
Yeah, they're called people from Cincinnati, and it's ridiculous. And their
Don't
chili
steal
is
my
horrible.
thunder. You did it.
It's horrible.
Gosh, dang it. So I did my research, and in Cincinnati, that is the big thing. They like to stack their pasta.
It's terrible.
And it's different. It's interesting. Here's my thing.
Look, see, now you got me all fired up. Okay.
That's exactly what I wanted to do.
It's not even chili. It's like meat sauce. It's like putting meat sauce. It's putting meat sauce on spaghetti.
But you have to accept the facts that there are different palates out there versus the Edgy Tim palate.
Right. There's right palates and wrong palates. Is what
you're getting flustered. I can see it in your face right now. Get the camera.
No, that's constant sunburn from covering games, sir. That will not fade until about January.
So let me finish this. Okay, we have several layers on the chili. Okay, we have the cheese, we have the sauce. If you have it in a bowl like Edgy Tim, you're gonna have a bunch of crackers. Okay, but the Cincinnati chili, like you said, the Cincinnati chili has it on top of the spaghetti. Okay, either way, there are 3 levels to this game, and then nothing's changed. Okay, special teams has been a topic that is starting to pop up as I start calling these coaches. I talked to a coach tonight. Coach Kozuzik down there in Nashville. Hey, he said, bottom line is, if we don't play well on special teams against QND, we're going to get beat because they have dynamic playmakers. There's 3 levels to the game. It's special teams, it's defense, it's offense. Everything has to be clicking and everything has to be sound in order for that chili to be good. That's what I got.
All right.
I'm sorry.
It took you 11 weeks, but you finally had my full attention.
I'm sorry. Well, and I got your blood pressure up too at a high level. So
it's always high. between snacking on Halloween candy all week, it's way up. So it's all good.
I made a killer chicken chili this past weekend.
Yeah, I'm okay. I mean, I've had venison chili. As long as it tastes good, I'm down. I'll try anything once.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm all good about it. But I'm telling you, that Cincinnati chili, just don't buy the hype. Don't buy it at all.
Okay. All right. Okay.
All right. We'll move on. Second quarter. Pastaviv thoughts?
No. Pastative.
I did that on purpose just to make you feel better.
There you go.
All right. Well, what does that goofy thing mean?
Hey, I'm not necessarily grabbing at straws, but I'm grabbing at a handful of pasta. So the bottom line is, these kids are trying to be positive. We're talking about winners. We're going into week 2 of the playoffs, and everybody's coming off a win. And so that's what we're talking about on this show. It's going to be really interesting. I think as we continue to go on and on and on, there's a lot of positives. I just want to talk about the theme of, teams and towns are winning. As you keep winning, it keeps getting more excited. And I just really think there's some really neat storylines developing, especially when we get down into 2A. Could you potentially have 2A and 3A? In 3A, could you potentially have Roxana against a Tolono Unity, or a Tolono Unity with a rematch against St. Joe, or a Cinderella story like Olympia come out of there? And then in 2A, Nashville, they beat Shelbyville in week 9 in a kind of a blowout game. You could have a collision course with those 2 teams meeting each other in the semifinals.
Yeah. All right. It's cool. Finally, first quarter. Oh boy. Are you doing hot dog talk now? Because this could get you kicked off the show, depending on how this goes. All right, you ready? You're brave enough? You ready to go?
I don't know if I'm brave enough.
You're ready to try me tonight?
No, I'm going to be educated.
Educated? All right, first quarter, doggone it, Matt Leng. You got me all fired up.
I think about the Chicago hot dog,
Oh, no, here we go.
The Taj Mahal of all foods, and it's very unique. And how dare you would never put ketchup on that thing.
Never.
And by gosh, talking to one dog right there with his Saluki dog hat on. When
Okay.
you have a good hot dog, there's some snap to it. Okay. And
Agreed.
everybody has their own taste. Everybody has their own style. Some of these teams are kind of being the top dogs. I mean, we have not one time tonight really talked about Lane and Winslow. We know who the top dogs in each class are. Can they continue to win? Pressure starts mounting.
Yep.
Could we have any type of slip ups with any of these hot dogs, these top dogs? I don't think it's going to happen.
Not
It's
yet.
going to be really interesting. The floor is now yours, Edgy Tim. Tell me about your hot dog love affair.
No, you're all good. Yeah, I mean, and again, I'll be very clear on this. Look, I'm not the kind of guy that like bags on people for putting ketchup on their hot dog. Eat whatever the hell you want to eat. It's fine. But in my world, doesn't happen.
That's sacrilegious.
Right. But, especially kids. I mean, if kids like ketchup on their hot dog, who am I to argue? It doesn't matter. You develop your own taste when you get older.
Absolutely.
That was how I was raised. It's all about how you were raised and brought into it.
My best hot dog story is my dad took me to Coney Island Restaurant in Galesburg, Illinois, and he told me that back in the day when he was working construction on the farm, they would give him $2, and he was ordered to get 20 Coney dogs at a nickel a piece.
Wow.
And bottles of soda for $2.
Probably had change.
And tell you what, still to this day, when I go back there, it's one of the best places. I have the Coney dog.
I'm down with a good Coney dog. It's all good.
Yep.
I mean, I like that. Have you had Made Right before?
Oh yeah.
I'm good with Made Right too.
Yeah.
It's a little not a hot dog, but it's a little different.
No.
Yeah. It's all good. Excellent. And then overtime. I almost forgot overtime. You can't forget overtime. I actually had overtime on Friday. I had double overtime on Friday.
Good for you.
That was fun. It was wet. It was cold, but it was fun. Overtime. Where's the beef, Matt Leng?
Well, I've talked to a lot of coaches, and I'm very lucky that I did it for how long I did it. I don't know if I'll ever get back into it again, but I have a lot of contacts. And one of the things that I do when I contact my coaches is, how's the offensive line playing? Describe your offensive line. Is it big? Is it medium size? Is it fast? Is it ferocious? Everybody's talking about their lines, and there's some that are huge. There's some guys that have big offensive lines. But I tell you right now, it usually comes down to execution. And again, I'm going to send a shout out to my roommate, Pat Elder. He went down and he beat he beat the Washington Hogs, the old Joe Gibb Washington Hogs, a big, powerful team. And he did that with precision line play. Right now, Byron running the ball like no one's business. Lena Winslow, same thing. You could go up and down the lines, 1A through 4A. If you're going to win, it's going to come up front. And you don't necessarily have to have the beef, but you have to have execution. So where is the beef and where is the execution, maybe, is the question you'd ask.
Very good, sir. Very good. All right. Well, that didn't suck. Any
the
plans?
Ratings will go through the roof with that 4 quarters and overtime with food.
Any plans?
I don't know. I might go down and watch Rochester and Coal City. I don't know.
I'm heading north. I'm actually going to be farther north than South Beloit this week.
Yes.
That's pretty far.
Where are you going?
Well, Friday, I'm actually just going to Maine South there, hosting Belleville East. So I get to go watch one of the better teams from the the Illinois side of the St. Louis suburbs, and looking forward to that. And then Saturday morning, heading up to Antioch, which going to stop up there, maybe say hello to Santa, go visit the workshop while I'm up there, because I'm pretty sure the North Pole is only about 10 miles from there.
There you go. There you go.
So that'll be my day. And then if things go well, and they should, hopefully, I'll get down a little bit further south and maybe hit a game at 5 or 7 o'clock, depending upon my departure from Antioch. But that is supposed to be a heck of a game. Carmel Catholic and Antioch in 6A, I believe. So Yeah, I've never actually, I've been up there. I've never covered a game up there, so I'm looking forward to doing that. You know me, I like exploring and going to new places. So
I have driver's ed on Saturday morning, and then I'm going to be going. I might go watch DeCoin take on
Nice.
Unity, or I might go down and watch the Olympia Spartans, maybe if they play well on turf, upset Greenville.
There you go. All right. Well, that's going to do it. Round 2 preview done in the books. We'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Edgy Tim along with the coach, Matt Lang. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, we'll talk to you next week. Get out, go see a game. Stop watching at home, especially if you live near one. Go out. Go enjoy yourself.
Get some fresh air, ladies.
Cold weather won't kill you. It'll be, well, it might, but you'll be okay.